lactose sugar. That's why we think it's actually hurting people's bones and maybe even hurting people's brain health in a kind of Parkinson's scenario, in addition to toxins. And so all those problems wouldn't be any different whether you're eating yogurt, whether you're eating, kefir. Of course, we're talking about dairy kefir. There's also almond kefir and soy kefir and other kind of plant-based milks. There's another problem, even with the non-dairy ones, it's a lot of sugar, usually. In fact, yogurt in general is like candy. I mean, if you look at the amount of sugar in these things. So, look, if you can find kind of a Greek non-dairy yogurt, something without not a lot of added sugars, that's great. The most important thing, people talk about the probiotics in yogurt, right, in kefir. We don't need, so we already have good bacteria in our gut. Is we have to feed them. We have to, so that's actually what we need, are prebiotics. So the resistant starch in beans and fiber, which is found in all whole plant foods, feed our good bacteria, and then they multiply on their own if you feed them right. And so we don't need to take it. Now, if you just had antibiotics, you wiped out your floor, and you're symptomatic, chronic diarrhea, or something, okay, therapeutically, there's a place for probiotics. But day to day, you don't need more good bacteria, because if you eat more good bacteria but you don't feed them, they're just going to die. You have to keep taking it. What's best is you feed the good bacteria you have, you foster their growth, and that's the best way towards digestive health. Oh, it's like Phil Donahue here.
Can you eat too much peanut butter?
You can eat too much of anything. So you can literally, there's a famous, kind of the central dictum of toxicology, the study of poisons, is this the dose that makes the poison. So even water can kill you. You drink a couple gallons of water, even if you have functioning kidneys, and a short enough time span, you actually wash out the electrolytes in your brain, fall over, and kill yourself. Okay, so, yeah, okay, but the short answer is no, you eat all the peanut butter you want. There used to be a problem with aflatoxin. There's actually a fungus that grows on peanuts called aspergillus, and it can make these toxins. It's only a problem now in the developing world. So there's some places in northern Africa that are still dealing with a lot of aflatoxin issues, but here it's something that's very heavily tested for. And so they test batches and they make sure that there's no aflatoxin levels. And it depends on the growing conditions, and now we know much more about how to grow peanuts. But in some places in the world, that's not the case. So if you're traveling on vacation somewhere in the global south, you may want to skip the PB&J, but here, peanuts, like other nuts, even though it's a legume, nutritionally very similar to other nuts. And so I encourage people to eat a palmful, a handful, an ounce of nuts every day as part of my daily dozen recommendations for all the things I encourage people to fit into their daily routine.
There have been 50 holistic doctors that have been either died of suspicious causes or been murdered. Do you have an opinion about any of that? Just in the last year.
Oh, now I'm going to have nightmares. Thanks a lot.
We need to walk ahead.
Yeah, there's lots of slanderous things that's actually said about me there's an industry-funded group online that says I'm in the pocket of big broccoli and things like that. It's not true.
Yes, sir. If you're on a high blood pressure medicine now and you get on this plant-based diet, what's the effects of the medicine on you? Anything? What's the problem with that?
What kind of, what do you want?
I'm on 2 medications. I don't know which ones they are.
Do you know what classes there are? There's about 5 different classes now. Like a water pill,
Clonodine's one of them.
What?
Clonidine.
Clonidine, yeah. The most common side effects, so as drugs go, high blood pressure drugs have a long history of relative safety. The biggest things is kind of fatigue, sexual dysfunction are the 2 most common ones you hear kind of in a doctor's office. But more importantly, I think, is that if you still have high blood pressure, blood pressure such that you need to take drugs to push it down artificially, that suggests that you're not effectively treating the cause, and there may be some things that you can do in your life, like even if you have a great diet in terms of cutting out things that raise your blood pressure, eating lots of healthy whole plant foods, sodium. So if you process foods or add salt to the table, if you're not exercising, if there's a bunch of things they can eat, and that is what I'd rather people focus on, rather than just trying to force your blood pressure down. Now, it can be important. I mean, if you have high blood pressure, it increases your risk of kidney failure and blindness and stroke, all sorts of bad things. So if people are refusing to change their diet and lifestyle, then I would put people on blood pressure drugs. We have to push it down one way or another. But you still have the same underlying cause, which is these clogged, stiffened, inflamed arteries, but now we just kind of force them through pharmacological means to dilate and kind of reduces our blood pressure, or causes us to pee a whole bunch, and that reduces, we just have less blood volume, so that reduces our blood pressure. But you can see how, well, you still got those crippled, inflamed arteries, and it's still gonna increase your risk of all sorts of things. But hey, at least you're not gonna go blind as you're having a heart attack. That's a good thing. But the concern is, okay, well, wait a second. Have I done everything to treat the cause? And so then you go through the list, and there are certain plant foods that are particularly protective. So for example, ground flax seeds, a few spoonfuls of ground flax seeds work 2 to 3 times better than the drug that you're on, one of the drugs that you're on. And what are the side effects? Oh, it also lowers your cholesterol and triglycerides, reduces your risk of prostate cancer, and is anti-inflammatory, all sorts of wonderful things. So it only has good benefits. Another thing, hibiscus tea and herbal tea, also called Jamaica tea or sour tea. This ruby red, beautiful, delicious tea also is as effective as a leading blood pressure drug called captopril. This was 2 cups of strong hibiscus tea once a day in the morning, using, I believe, 5 tea bags. So it wasn't like 2, so it was 2 cups of strong tea, but that was as effective as the drug taken once a day, and again, just has beneficial effects, antioxidants, there's some wonderful things. I would just rinse your mouth out with water after drinking hibiscus tea, because it's really sour and the acid's going to erode your enamel if you just let it sit there.
Doctor,
Yes?
there was a chart you put up and it flashed really quickly, but the highest was aspirin. I don't remember, it was comparing certain things. What was that, and also about taking low-dose aspirin?
Yeah, so that slide was the odds of being on those classes of drugs for those that ate meat compared to vegetarian. And so those that eat meat twice as likely to be on aspirin, as well as sleeping pills and tranquilizers and blood pressure medications, laxatives, et cetera, and so why are people on aspirin? Typically it's because they have a heart problem or they're trying to prevent a stroke, and so that's why people that eat healthy are less likely to be on aspirin. I've got a series of videos coming out on aspirin, and the pros and cons, and who should be on it and who shouldn't be on it. And so stay tuned, you can subscribe. So right here, subscribe for free. There's a little box, put in your email, and you will get notified when that video comes out.
Okay, Doctor, I have a question someone gave me earlier.
Yes.
And that is, he's a gentleman in his 40s, and he's never gone for annual physicals. He's thinking, now's the time I should really do that. What test should I ask for, or what test should I not ask for?
So cholesterol. Everybody should know their cholesterol starting at age 25, maybe even earlier. So, but the current USPSTF, the official recommendations, everyone should know their cholesterol at age 25, and if it's fine, then you just get retested every 5 years, and if it's not fine, you keep doing things until you get retested and fine. What does fine mean? A total cholesterol of 150, or an LDL bad cholesterol down 50, 60, 70. That's where we want our bad cholesterol. Total cholesterol under 150. And if you're not there, so that's probably the most important thing. Why? Because heart disease is #1 killer, so that's the thing to worry about most.
I started about a year ago, went plant-based in my life.
Right? How's it going?
Well, good. My heart doctor took me off my simvastatin, took me off my blood thinners and all. So
Yes.
I can't get no more. The
Right.
only thing I have is now taking a B12 shot monthly and the vitamin D. So even my wife said it was in your book, I guess, but she doesn't.
Did you say vitamin P?
D?
D, yeah, okay.
Even though
Maybe
I'm
there's gonna be a new
son.
one, maybe it's a Georgia thing, I don't know.
Peanuts. Peaches.
Peaches. I'll take some vitamin B. Anybody got any peaches? I landed in the airport, I was like, where's all the peaches?
They were walking around. They were walking around.
Yeah, no. So now you don't need a vitamin B12 shot. You just take a vitamin B12 supplement. So one 2,500 microgram tablet once a week costs less than $5 a year. Get all the B12 you need. You don't actually need the injection. But vitamin D, look, down at this latitude, if you're getting enough midday sun, you don't need vitamin D. Vitamin D is a sunshine vitamin, right? The reason I tell people to take vitamin D is because a lot of people are living at such latitudes, like up in Boston, Chicago. It doesn't matter how much they're sunbathing naked on the Boston Commons in February, you're not going to make any vitamin D. The sun's rays are at such an angle during the winter that they just don't make any vitamin D. Now down here, you can get all the vitamin D you need. So if you're light enough skin, 10-15 minutes on forearms and face, even if you're covered up completely else, you get all the vitamin D you need, but it has to be midday sun, like 10 to 2. And, and so if you're inside all day, if you're not working outside or you're not taking a walking lunch break or something, it doesn't matter where you live, you're not getting enough vitamin D. And so I'd encourage you to take 2,000 international units of vitamin D a day. And so that's kind of the equivalent of what one might get from a healthy sun.
What are your thoughts on organic ginger and turmeric?
Compared to non-organic or compared to something else? What do I think of turmeric in general? Wow, you've asked the right person. How much time you got? So I've probably got more videos on turmeric than anything than any other topic. So I covered more than 2,000 topics. If you click on health topics, if there's 2,000 topics, and literally I have more videos. I must have 40, 50, videos on turmeric. That's actually made it onto my daily dozen. So if there's only 12 things you're gonna get that I encourage people to get every day, 1 tablespoon of ground flax seeds, 1 is a 1/4 teaspoon of ground turmeric, and that is, predominantly for its anti-cancer effects, but it has all sorts of other wonderful anti-inflammatory properties, and so tons of videos on it. And ginger. Ginger is wonderful too. It's actually very similar. It's in the same family. And so I have videos on migraines and ginger. Ginger works just as well as the leading migraine medication called sumatriptan or Imitrex, which is a multi-billion-dollar drug, whereas for like 6 cents you can get the same effect with ginger. I think it was an 1/8 teaspoon of ginger, something crazy, like literally pennies worth of ginger, worked just as well as the drug. And of course without the side effects, in fact, side effects including death, heart attack, things very rare, but happen with those drugs, whereas I have yet to meet anyone killed by ginger. Though I wouldn't have, because they'd be dead, so maybe, I don't know. And I have videos on probably the best thing for menstrual cramps. Ginger works better than ibuprofen, cuts down on excess bleeding. Also good for nausea and vomiting during pregnancy. I got so many videos on ginger, lots of stuff on turmeric. Check out the website. And how are we doing on time? All right, one more question.
Doctor,
Can we get someone on the other side of the room? Oh, well, 2 more questions. One here, then one on the other side of the room. Yes.
Dr. Jason Fung recently wrote a book entitled The Obesity Code, in which he puts out the idea that not only are the food industry people trying to get us to eat the wrong things, but also that they're putting forth the idea that we must eat 3 times a day. He doesn't think we need to eat 3 times a day, and I'd be curious to know your opinion.
Oh, interesting. So it's like, the saying, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That's actually a PR campaign by a bacon company. This guy named Bernay, he was a leading PR, and he was actually hired by a bacon company, came up with this phrase, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That's bacon propaganda. It doesn't have anything to do with actual science. So if you think about it, it's actually very strange as a species for us to eat all the time. I mean, think about it, I mean, for millions of years, we lived in famine. I mean, we lived in periods of famine. You think about it, in the winter, there ain't much to eat. Before we invented agriculture, you had to go literally, in some cases, weeks or even months without eating. And that's why we have these amazing fat stores. We can literally live on nothing but water for a long time. Because our bodies are adapted for starvation, not for eating all the time. And so that's actually an unnatural state physiologically and may have some negative consequences. There's a whole big, there's a whole new kind of field of nutritional science centered around something called intermittent fasting, which suggests a whole bunch of things. Some people eat every other day. Some people compress the amount of hours they eat to like an 8-hour period. So they eat like a late breakfast, early dinner, and then most of the day, so 2/3 of the day, your body's kind of resting and digesting. And I have a massive folder packed with intermittent fasting articles because there's been an explosion of research. I have yet to read it. So I don't know what they say, but I can tell you it's a very active field of study, and there are some really interesting sounding studies. I've yet to read them, but there will be a whole long series of videos, not turmeric long, but there will be a long series of videos on intermittent fasting. So it's actually a very intriguing idea. And so there was one study I saw, just so fascinating. They had these two groups eating the exact same number of calories, but just a different meal frequency, and just by modulating meal frequency, you actually lose more weight, even with the same number of calories, just because of the way our body. So basically, at night, during the day, we're mostly burning carbs, and at night we burn about 50-50 fat and carbs. So our fat oxidation goes up, such that we, I think it's about 14 pats of butter worth of fat is actually burned overnight. But as soon as we eat breakfast, the fat burning gets turned off because all of a sudden there's breakfast. Right? I don't need to burn my stores, right? I'm no longer fasting because I just break my fast. And so it actually turns off the fat burning. So if you just go a few extra hours, so pushing breakfast later, skipping breakfast, you get that additional fat burning that you never had before. So even if you ate some massive lunch, which is as many calories as you would have for breakfast, plus lunch, so the same number of calories during the day, you actually can alter the rate at which one loses fat by kind of these little tricks in human physiology. And so that'll actually be the topic of my next book, my sequel called How Not to Diet. Next book. It should be out in 2018. Yes, and the last question of the night.
What's your opinion of the goitrogenic effects of raw cruciferous vegetables?
Ooh, lots of syllables. So, okay, what she's talking about is that there are certain healthy foods, soy, broccoli family vegetables, cabbage family vegetables, and flax seeds, that if you have marginal iodine intake, if you're not getting enough iodine, if you're iodine deficient, these foods can interfere with the uptake of iodine into the thyroid gland, which your thyroid needs to make thyroid hormone. And so it's not a problem if you have enough iodine. But if you don't have enough iodine, it can be a problem. So the answer is not avoid these really healthy foods. The answer is just make sure you get enough iodine. That's particularly important for pregnant women. The current American Thyroid Association recommendations that all pregnant women get 150 micrograms of iodine every single day. It's typically not found in prenatal vitamins, which is really unfortunate. So just make sure you get. And now there's probably the healthiest way to get iodine is sea vegetables. I encourage people to develop a taste for seaweed, like nori, those like sushi seaweed sheets. Now there's all sorts of flavored snacks that you can chew on. I have some recipes for them. You can sprinkle some dulse or aromatic, these really mild tasting seaweeds in soups and salads and whatever. and they suck up all these trace minerals from the sea, including iodine, plus a whole bunch of other stuff. They're like dark green leafy vegetables in the sea, super healthy, encourage you to eat them, and then you get all the iodine you need. And then you can eat all the broccoli you want. The bonus, I eat this, then I can eat broccoli, yes! And then you don't have to worry about the goitrogenic foods at all. Thank you so much, everybody!
Dr. Greger will sign books. We have to kind of rush